This is a clip from the Garbage Time Podcast. To listen to the full show, click the links to our Apple Podcast or Spotify below. All right, so not a lot of surprises in last night's draft, especially at the top. Most guys got picked where we thought they would get picked. A couple minor things. But I think the biggest surprise of the night was the Packers trading up in the first round. They go and grab Jordan Love. I mean, that's leaving a lot of people scratching their heads. And I mean, I'm kind of lost on this one. So, can someone explain it to me why you would want to draft Jordan Love and trade up for him in the first round when you have Aaron the Bad Man Rodgers as your starting quarterback and you just came off a 13-3 season?
See what the Packers. Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
You can go for it. Go for it.
So what the Packers experienced about 15 or so years ago, 10 years ago, whenever it was, they had the transition between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it was just perfectly set up for them. They had their cornerstone guy in Brett Favre, and they had a guy in Aaron Rodgers who was super talented, got to learn under Favre for a couple of years, and for whatever reason, had the courage to sit out of the NFL for a couple of years, and then he was ready. And I think that was kind of a once in a lifetime. It was a real anomaly situation, and I think the Packers are just trying to do that over again. They're trying to have that same exact situation with Jordan Love, and they must have really liked the tape on him to be able to do this. But it's getting a lot of criticism, and I think for good reason, because the Packers, while they were a contender last year, they weren't close to winning the Super Bowl. They got ran off the field against the Niners. And so you think with a first-round talent or a first-round pick, they would draft a first-round talent, maybe on defense, maybe a receiver. There was plenty of those available at the time. But they chose not to, and they chose a guy that the Packers hope probably won't play for 5 years, because Aaron Rodgers is only 36, and you look at the direction of the league that's going. Drew Brees is like 40 right now. Tom Brady's, 40, 43. So you hope that the Aaron Rodgers doesn't play for, or doesn't have to hang it up for several more years, that Jordan Love, in the best case of the Packers' mind, doesn't have to play for 5 years. So why is that worth a first-round pick?
Yeah, exactly. From the Packers' perspective, they've seen what's happened when Aaron Rodgers isn't on the field. They saw it with DeShone Kizer just a year ago. They saw it with Brett Hundley a year before that. So they know what happens when their star talent is off the field. So I think they're trying to mitigate that type of risk. You need a quarterback in this type of NFL. And like you mentioned, Sean, they did it with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers 15 years ago. Why can't they do it again? I'm a big proponent on getting a quarterback a little too early rather than a little too late. But the one knock with this pick here, at least in my opinion, I think it's a lot better than a lot of people think. But the main knock is Aaron Rodgers just got out of that super controversial relationship with Mike McCarthy. You're throwing him back into a new relationship with Matt LaFleur and the new front office there in Green Bay. You don't want him to have controversy or contention in that type of relationship at all. And I think that's what this pick fosters, is a little bit of uneasiness around that Packers organization. If Aaron Rodgers knew that they were going to go after Jordan Love before the draft, then I think that it's fine. But if this is a surprise to Aaron Rodgers like it was to everyone else, then I don't really love it from the Packers' perspective. I think they could have waited a year or two before they got their next guy.
All right, so I'm going to give a similar take that I gave on our draft reaction show that dropped this morning. My thoughts really haven't changed on it. So you take Jordan Love. I'm going to skip going over him as a prospect because we kind of know what he is. He has a lot of upside, but he also has a lot of downside. There's a reason that he's a lower first-round pick. But you take Jordan Love and you put him on this Packers team. Like Sean said, it really mimics that situation of Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre when Aaron Rodgers was a rookie. It is a late first-round draft pick, not a huge amount of college success, but the talent is obviously there. You take him and you put him on a team with a legendary quarterback who is maybe not in the twilight of his career, but nearing the end. Aaron Rodgers is 36 years old. So you take this situation, and your best hope is that Jordan Love can sit and learn behind Aaron Rodgers, and they can have that mentor-mentee kind of relationship. But you have to keep in mind, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is that kind of guy to be like, okay, yeah, the next quarterback is here. Let's mentor him and let's make sure the future of the Packers is right. I'm not going to attack Aaron Rodgers' character too much, but he often seems to be all about Aaron. And I just don't think this relationship is going to do any good for Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers and for the Packers as a whole. I think the best bet for Green Bay would have just to draft a 5th or 6th round guy, let him sit behind Aaron and see what happens. I think drafting a guy in the 1st round sends a really strong message to Aaron that they are ready to move on. Regardless of what they say, I think the general manager came out this morning and said, we have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We intend to have him starting for us for years to come. Like, that's kind of BS if you think about it, because you don't spend a 1st round pick on a guy that you don't envision playing. Like, Jordan Love is here to start at some point, and that is probably going to be sooner or later.
I absolutely agree. With a 1st round pick, you're picking, especially at the quarterback position, you're picking the heir apparent. And typically it's the heir apparent within the next 2 or 3 years at the very most. So you expect Jordan Love to see the field in the very near future. And I don't think this bodes well for the end of Aaron Rodgers' career, and he might take a pretty similar trajectory to what Brett Favre did. It's almost like deja vu just 15 years later with this Packers organization.
Exactly, and they're very obviously trying to mimic that same situation, right? Like, the relationship wasn't perfect between Favre and Aaron Rodgers, by no means, but in the end, it did work out. And I think they're trying to mimic that, but I just don't like the message they're sending when they not only spend their 1st round pick on a guy, but they trade up to go get him. So they were aggressively pursuing the quarterback to replace Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think that sits well with a guy like Aaron.
And maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe Aaron Rodgers was already on his way out before this draft even happened, and It's likely that he could be out in the next year or two, and they want to get his heir apparent. Or maybe they just love Jordan Love, and they see something in him that other teams maybe don't see as much, or other scouts don't see as much, and maybe it was just too good to pass up. Even if he's going to be a backup for a little while, grab him in case Rodgers gets hurt, or in case something bad goes with Rodgers and they think they have their guy. Who knows what happened, with the Packers, and who knows what's going on behind the scenes there. But regardless, I agree with you guys. I'm not a huge fan of the pick, and